Hey there, future scientists. Welcome to the lab. This place is all about incredible discoveries, right? But hold on, before we start mixing any chemicals or creating any cool sparks, there's one super important thing we have to talk about. The #1 rule, staying safe. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, so here's what we've got on the agenda today. First, we'll talk about our main goal. Then we'll dive into knowing the dangers. After that, we'll cover some essential first aid. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a quick review. Ready? Let's go.
All right, first things first. What exactly are we hoping to learn today? Let's break down our goals for this session.
You know, by the time we're done here, you're going to be a real safety pro. Seriously. You'll be able to look at a chemical bottle and know what those symbols mean. You'll understand how accidents can happen and how to prevent them. You'll even know the first steps to take for common injuries. And the big one? You'll totally get why safety is always #1. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of lab dangers. This part is super important. Think of it like getting a superpower, your safety superpower, because just knowing what to look out for, that's half the battle won right there.
So what are these common hazards we keep talking about? What are the things you really need to be aware of when you step into the lab? Okay, look at this. You're going to see symbols just like these on all sorts of chemical containers, and they are basically super important warning signs. So, flammable. That means it can catch fire easily, so you've got to keep it far from any heat. Corrosive. That stuff can actually burn or even destroy your skin, so wearing gloves is absolutely key. Toxic, that's just a fancy word for poisonous. Definitely don't want to swallow that. Then you have carcinogenic, which means it could cause cancer after a lot of exposure. And finally, radioactive. It gives off radiation that can be harmful. The main takeaway here, always check the label before you even think about using something.
All right, so now we know what the hazards are, but how does a hazard actually become an accident? That's the real question, right? Let's take a closer look. You know, the thing about most accidents in the lab is that they are completely avoidable. A lot of the time, they're caused by simple things like spilling chemicals or breaking a beaker. But you want to know the biggest reasons? It's usually people not following the instructions or just messing around and running in the lab. We have to remember, the lab is a place for focus, for amazing discoveries, not a playground. Look, even when we're super careful, sometimes accidents can still happen. It's just the fact. And that's exactly why knowing some basic first aid isn't just, a nice-to-have skill. Nope. For anyone working in a lab, it is absolutely essential.
So what do? Here are the key steps, and they're pretty simple, but can really save the day. If someone gets a burn or a scald, the very first thing you do is run cool water over it. Got it? Cool water. For cuts, you need to apply pressure with a clean piece of cloth and, if you can, raise that part of the body up. And this one is critical. If someone swallows something they shouldn't have, do not make them vomit. The most important thing is to get your teacher for help. Immediately.
And all of this really leads us to the golden rule of the lab. I mean, knowing first aid is super important, but what's our real #1 goal? It's to make sure we never even have to use it. Prevention is truly the key.
So how do we do that? How do we prevent accidents? Well, it's all about following a few key rules. Rule 1. Always follow your teacher's instructions. They know what they're doing. Rule 2. Never, ever taste or smell chemicals directly. You might see that in movies, but in a real lab, no way. Also, be careful with glassware. It's fragile. And please, report every accident to your teacher, even if it seems like a tiny little thing. It's so important. Oh, and keep your area clean and tidy. A messy desk is an accident waiting to happen. And a big one, never work alone in the lab. These rules aren't there to be annoying. They're there to keep you and everyone around you safe.
Okay, so we've gone over all the theory. Now for the fun part. Let's see how we can put all this great knowledge into practice.
Yep, it's your turn to shine. Because honestly, the best way to make sure you remember these skills when it counts is to actually practice them. And here's a really cool activity you can do. Your teacher can help you with this one. Get into small groups and try a little role play. Maybe one of you pretends to get a small burn or a cut. Then the rest of the group can practice doing the right first aid steps. It might feel a bit silly, but trust me, practicing like this really helps that information stick in your brain so you'll be ready if anything ever happens for real. Excellent job, everyone. We have covered so much ground today. So before we finish up, let's just do a quick review of the main takeaways. Okay, if you only remember 3 things from our entire chat today, please make it these 3. Number 1, always look for those hazard symbols before you use any chemical. Number 2, know those basic first aid steps for burns, cuts, and swallowing something you shouldn't. And number 3, safety isn't just on you or on the teacher. It's on everyone.
It's a team effort. All right, to wrap things up, I've got one last question for you to think about. After everything we've talked about today, what are 2 safety measures that you are going to make sure you follow every single time you're in the lab? Really think about that. Thanks for joining me, and stay safe out there on all your amazing scientific adventures.